Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Perform Happy podcast. I'm so excited to have my guest today, who is a 14-time national team member, which in and of itself is, just do the math on what it takes to remain on a national team for 14 years. Rosanna Ojala has been on the Finnish national team, and she is continuing to do gymnastics. And what we're going to talk about today, I'm really excited about, is how do you stay in the sport for so long while remaining healthy and happy? Rosanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to come here.
Yeah. So you have your own podcast and you've been really focusing on the culture of the sport, making it a healthy place, both physically and culturally, which I 100% agree. I'm on the same track. I want athletes to be able to be happy, healthy, successful as long as they want to be in the sport. Now, did you always know you wanted to do gymnastics for a really long time, or tell us your story. I would love to hear it.
Yeah, so actually, I tried several sports when I was a kid, and my parents were taking me all over trying different sports. Been doing track and field, and actually stuck with pole vault for pretty long. And I was also in the pole vault, the junior national team for a while, like just doing some training camps and some competitions with them. But then eventually it got a little bit too much with two sports. But for a long time I actually enjoyed having two different kind of sports at the same time, and they were really supporting each other. But anyways, gymnastics has been, since I was 6 years old, it has been my number one thing and always the priority. But yeah, it's been also nice to do other kind of sports. I also been doing some endurance sports like long distance running, and I tried triathlon because my dad is also doing triathlon in very very high level. So he gave me the chance to try it, but I don't think it was for me.
Oh, it's so important for athletes to cross train for longevity in their body. There's so many documented benefits of cross training, but I go, okay, but in the US, it just feels impossible to do more than one sport. So I'm curious, what were your training hours for each of your sports that allowed you to be actually competing at a high level in two sports?
Yeah, so basically I put training hours in gymnastics, and then I just attended the competitions in track and field. Maybe had like 4 to 5 pole vault sessions before the first competition of the year. And then I did maybe like 5 competitions each summer. And each competition was also prepping me for the next one. So it was like I almost made my personal record on each competition. You know, when you're young, you're able to do that. But yeah, it was an interesting combo, and somehow we made it work. But also for me, it was really important to get this like mentally the different approach when I was in pole vault competitions. It was much less stressful for me because maybe because I didn't take it so seriously and it was like a side thing. It was something fun for me. But also the approach is different because it's not aesthetic sport, or somebody's not judging you, but you just try to go over a certain height. So yeah, and also they have some same and elements like the run up for vault in gymnastics, and also the body control in pole vault and gymnastics is very similar, so they just supported each other very well.
Yeah, I can't help but think, what were your teammates thinking when you show up to zero practices and then win and go home?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think they were, yeah, probably they were a bit jealous, or like how can she do that, and I don't think they saw like the effort I was putting in gymnastics, and they probably didn't understand how many similar things there are, and they should have been also been doing more gymnastics as pole vaulters. And I know vaulters are doing gymnastics, but they could even put more emphasis on it. I think.
Yeah, definitely. I've worked with a lot of pole vaulters who were former gymnasts. It
Yeah,
seems like it's really complementary.
it is. It is. And
Yeah.
yeah, my coach also knew back then that they have some many things in common, but sometimes I think he was still afraid that I somehow it will mess up my gymnastics, or that it's not beneficial, or of course you're using your body, and it's not ideal if when you're supposed to have a vacation, then you use it to load your body in some other way. So you have to find the balance. And I had some kind of stress injuries, or what do you call it in English, like some tendon pains and stuff, which probably could have been good if I had some more time to rest them. But then if you think about the mental side and very like the holistic view, there were so many good things about doing both.
Definitely. That's something that I think it's really hard to conceptualize how you could do multiple sports, but so much research says do multiple sports, especially up until your teenage years when you are, I mean, that side to side motion of playing soccer can strengthen Achilles and can strengthen legs and knees, the cardio. But then you've got this sport of gymnastics that basically says by age 6, if you have not specialized, you have no chance and you
Yeah.
cannot be successful. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think it's really also depends on the sport, depends what you mean by successful, but also the approach you take, because in gymnastics, the traditional way of thinking is like you have to reach the top when you are around 16 to 18 years old. And if we would change that approach a little bit to thinking in longer term, and putting the attention on sustainable development, and maybe aiming for being at your best in your 20s or later, like then you shouldn't press that much in one specific sport from a young age. That's my opinion. Like there is room for this kind of different thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's the thinking. It's that this is the culture of the sport that you have to peak at 16 or else, and that college is the absolute end of the road if you can even keep your burnout at bay and keep your body working. And that's what it seems like you are really seeking to change the way people look at the sport. And
Yes.
it's so I think about kind of all of the reasons why athletes leave the sport. I mean, there's a big list of reasons why, sort of things that prevent a long gymnastics career. So I would love if I could just throw out all of my objections and then you tell me, okay, how do we fix this one so that kids can keep doing it, or grown-ups can keep doing it? So the first one, the first big obstacle I think to a long, happy career is stress. The stress mentally and physically of continuing to kind of climb those levels. So what do you suggest as a way to deal with the stress so that it can actually be more enjoyable?
Yeah, so I think there are several things we can do. And if we think about, for example, young gymnasts, I think it's important to teach them about goal setting, and seeing also already from young age that they have the possibility to continue for longer, that they don't have the pressure inside their head, like I have to be on top when I'm 16 years old. Because that creates like the feeling of rush. And when you are changing from junior to senior, you also have a lot of pressure on school. And then there are so many different things is happening, like when you're growing, you're getting taller, your technique is changing, and then your hormones are messed up, and so many different things. So that shouldn't be the time when you press yourself like so much. And also I think the communication with a coach is one key, and the coaches would ideally be like really understanding about the process, what is going on, and trying to actively communicate with the gymnasts, and seek alternative ways also to make them develop, and make them also see their own journey and the narrative around their own journey and what they perceive as success.
Yeah, you've said that a couple of times, and it's really powerful to ask what do you mean by success? You know, if
Mhm.
success is only winning the Olympics or getting a Division 1 NCAA college scholarship, then okay, that sort of reduces the likelihood of success in your life, which is so stressful. But if your success is mastering skills,
Mhm.
overcoming obstacles, being an amazing teammate, taking home some medals, yes, but if there's more to it than just that one view of what success is, I think that can definitely impact the level of stress.
Definitely. And if you find what you're doing, if you find it meaningful, then it doesn't load you so much also that you have to do it from day to day, and it doesn't feel like extra load for you on your shoulders, that there is a meet coming up or something, because you're just so excited to go there. And that also depends so much on the culture at the gym, what you're grown up with,
Mhm.
how you
So
perceive. Yeah.
yeah, well, I'm curious what the culture was like when you were growing up. You know, was it a, get to the Olympics and win at all costs, or was it let's enjoy the sport we love? What was it like?
Actually, I was always really stressed before competitions. I was really good at putting that pressure on my shoulders. On the other hand, I was also a good competitor. I got really good, I got some extra power from the adrenaline, and it really helped me. I knew how to use it, and I've gotten even better at it when I got older. But somehow it's also not so good to put that kind of pressure on myself, and my goals were not very sustainable. So that's also the way I have processed it with myself first before I'm able to give to others when I'm doing the mentoring now with other athletes, for example. um, and I see it now from more perspective, because my goal was always go to the Olympics. And 2012, I was a reserve. There was this test event concept back then, so I went to the test event as a reserve gymnast. If anything could have happened, then I would have stepped in. Then 2016, I got injured in nationals before the Olympic qualifications, and then for 20 Olympics, I was at the Worlds for qualifying, but it was not my best competition. I think it was actually a really bad competition because of all the pressure I put on myself. And that was the point. After that, I really, really dig deep into like my core beliefs and what makes me so stressed before the important competitions, and like something I worked so hard for, like why to mess it up just because of the stress. It just feels so stupid when you can see it from outside.
Yeah, but that leads me to I mean, it's wonderful that you're so close and you're so close and you're so close, but I think it's really common that there is this amount of stress that goes on you when you go, I've been doing this for so long. This is my one and only dream. I have to be perfect. And then you fall apart. So if you could go
Mhm.
back, let's say to 2020
Yeah.
and approach it in a different way, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
I think I would actually listen to myself more in the process of preparation. So I wouldn't think so much what the others think about. I don't know how I should train, how I should prepare, and I would use more the tools I have now. I have also gained more like knowledge about myself, my traits. I'm more conscious about what is going on inside my head, how I function. And yeah, I'm also pretty sensitive for many things that happen for me, or like if my training load, for example, increases a little bit, it can have a huge impact on my body. I can easily get some pain or something. I have to respect it. I have to find the words to ways to work with it. And sensitivity can be also a superpower when you use it correctly, but when you kind of try to neglect it, it's really working against you.
Yes.
So I think I would just have more empathy, like self-compassion for myself in the process. I think that's a really big word, like really important thing when you realize what it means and how can you be self-compassionate. Yeah, so I think that's the key thing I would do differently.
Oh my gosh, that's so great coming from you who have had so much success in your sport. There's this big misconception that if you stop to be compassionate and listen and back off and take your foot off the
Mhm.
gas, that you're getting off the path to success. But that is
Mm.
the path. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the most sustainable way to arrive at your goals is to listen to yourself, to be aware, to have that heightened self-awareness and go, actually, I know that my thinks that this is what I need, but I intuitively know because I have such high self-awareness that that's not what I need right now. And then you
Mhm.
communicate. And hopefully you've surrounded yourself with coaches that are going to be willing to listen to you and collaborate.
Mm.
And did you find that that was true for you?
So I think at the moment I had a coach who was really willing to listen to my feelings and how like really respecting my needs, but I was not good enough to listen my own needs.
Mm.
So I think that was more the problem. So that's why I'm also, when I'm mentoring others, I'm really emphasizing it, like coach can only do so much. Like they cannot see inside your head or inside your body what is going on. They don't share the same experience as you. You can always try to communicate to them, but there is always something missing. And on the other hand, like they, of course, they might see something that you don't feel or see yourself, and that way they can help you to make the better decisions, even, for example, if you should push more or if you should take a rest now. But the last decision should be yours, or made together based on your both perceptions on the situation. Yeah, and I think that, yeah, the thing when you just try to press yourself too much and force it, like nothing good comes with forcing. That's also like one thing. Yeah.
It's so true. So true. So okay, so now on to the thing that took me out of the sport that cut my career off was fear. I
Mm.
didn't believe that I thought that because I was afraid, it meant I wasn't good enough or it meant I was just not mentally right for the sport. And I hear this from coaches that go, "Oh, maybe she's just not cut out for it. If she can't be courageous, she can't do this sport." So what do you say to that? The person that goes, "Well, I'm too scared," or you can't do this
Mm.
sport long term if you're afraid.
I think it's also like, it sounds like the circle just makes it stronger and stronger every time you hear it, and then you start to believe it more. And when, yeah, some of the coaches tell you you're too afraid, and then you believe, like it becomes maybe part of your identity that I'm the one who is always afraid. And you tell that narrative to yourself. So that makes your kind of sense of capability less. um, it's so important in gymnastics to feel like I'm capable of doing things. And for me personally, at least, if I'm lacking sleep or I'm lacking something with my nutrition, I also start to be more afraid because I'm more tired and I don't have energy to process my feelings. And yeah, for example, breaking a skill to pieces so that it's easier, you can kind of visualize it or something. You can do that when you're lacking some of your basic needs. And this is also one thing I've realized and I'm emphasizing to others. Also coming from my education, like as a master of public health, the emphasis was really much about how we are like mental, physical, and social beings. Like everything is related to each other, all those three parts. And you cannot really separate them. And it's also amazing when you realize this, because sometimes or often we try to be like, oh, but are you mentally tired or are you physically tired? But actually there is not so much difference, because what does it mean to be mentally tired, and why are you mentally tired? Maybe because physically you did something, or like you're lacking some kind of hormone in your brain. Maybe if you didn't sleep, your brain didn't have time to organize all the things to the boxes it needs to, and everything just comes so much around the same. It's just you are one. And even with the social health, like that affects also your mental and physical part. in the gym if you're feeling lonely, or it can go the other way, like if you are feeling like you're lacking some nutritional things, so you feel fatigue, then you start to get afraid, and then you identify as the one who is always afraid, and then you also kind of step back in the group and you don't have friends and you can't be authentic yourself. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so much of that. And I tell people the lowest hanging fruit for overcoming fear is make sure you're eating enough and getting enough
Mm,
sleep. That if you don't do that, just like you said, your brain can't work out the creative solution. If you're running on fumes, your brain is supposed to put on the brakes for you so you stay safe. And I think back to my gymnastics career and go, there was no nutrition education in 1996. It was just like, you're supposed to eat less and be skinny. That was basically all we were
mm,
told. And now it's like, oh my gosh, were we so wrong that there's so much good you can do with proper nutrition that sets you up
mm.
for that holistic health and confidence. It's
Yeah,
incredible. And then you've got the brain power to go, well, what's a new drill we could try to build this thing up? Let's get creative. Let's
exactly.
communicate. My coach can't read my mind. Maybe I will tell them how I'm feeling. It's like it's
Yeah,
not that
and this is
hard.
also this is also my new approach for like what things I can do for myself and what I feel is good for me now, training wise, nutrition wise, resting, everything. Not like now I have to do this, now I have to execute this part of my daily routine, because sometimes gymnasts tend to work like robots, including myself. And sometimes I just get to this robot mode, like, or zombie mode, or what do you want to call it, that you kind of don't have the extra energy and capacity to think about all the decisions you make and why you do like this. You just repeat it. And sometimes they can be really bad habits. You start to repeat. And also, when you do the repetitions in training, if you don't have the mind with you, it's like you do it for nothing. You don't actually
Mhm.
learn. You just do it because your coach says do 5 times, and then you're like, oh, I completed the task. But
Mm.
if you approach it like, what can I do today for myself to actually feel good about that I did an effort for my development, then even if you just say, I do 1 or 2 reps, and you did it with a full mental focus, it can give you so much more than those 5 that you did without your brain. And same with the nutrition, like, how can I feed my body and my brain today the best way possible? Or maybe I will get some nice, colorful vegetables, and then I will get some, take some potatoes because I love them. I will bake them the way I like it and put the spices, and it's like a treat. And I also get so much good fuel for my body. And then, we can get some, like, so many things. So, okay, I will go early to sleep tonight because that's going to be so nice to wake up tomorrow, like feeling fresh.
Mm. Yeah. What this reminds me of is the the idea of choice, that
Mm,
you choose to show up every day. And so it's like instead of just sort of being towed along by your sport, you choose in, you opt in each day and you make those choices of how am I going to make this a valuable day that I can feel really good about. Even down to the taste of the potatoes, that you can either stare at your phone and scroll while you mindlessly put food in your face, or you can sit there and you can be with it and you can enjoy it and you can
mm,
make those great choices and acknowledge how delicious it is to go to bed early. I mean, what a gift to give yourself rather than what this sport can sometimes just be taking from us all the time. It's taking sleep, it's taking energy. Instead, you're giving it your focus and your joy, which sounds like just a much better experience overall.
exactly. And this is about also what you said about mindlessly scrolling, or being mindful about what you eat. It applies to everything. Like if you're mindful on what you do, and this mindfulness is also like so trendy right now, and some people maybe know what it means and some people haven't really put an effort on it. But I've also tried to be more present. Like, it's, you can't just fix it like this if you always ahead of time or you're thinking about the past. It's a process. And I used to ruminate a lot, and still I will if I'm not focusing on not doing it. or having anxiety and thinking ahead what is coming, especially before big meets. When I mentioned before, I was always stressed, so I would have these scenarios scrolling all the time on my head. And I find it so helpful to do some mindfulness exercises and breathing exercises and trying really being present at the gym on what I do, and then being present at home and then not thinking anymore so much what happened at the gym. And that was a really long process for me actually, to get rid of the habit of coming home from practice and then starting to play it on repeat, like what did I do good and what did I do wrong, and I didn't achieve this goal today. And often they were what I didn't do good, those things were going on. So now I would say I have reached a pretty good level of being present at home and being present at the gym, and that's one big thing also helps me. And I was not there, for example, before the 2020 Olympic qualifications, and I think that's one big thing that screwed it up for me.
Yeah, and going back to the stress and fear are almost always in the future or the past. If you're
Mm-hmm.
in the moment, I would like to ask people, where are your feet? Your feet are always somewhere okay, even if your head has spun out into the worst case scenarios that could ever happen and your adrenaline is spiking, you can always just find your feet and go,
That's
oh,
really good way of
everything.
saying it. That's really good way. And also I've noticed, like, I have lately been working a lot with kids, and it's really helpful for me because they have the ability also to be present and acknowledge the little things. So it's really healthy. I can recommend if you have any possibility to hang out with some kids.
Yes, it's true. I'm better with kids than grownups, I find. But
Yeah.
kids and dogs, maybe it's because they help me be present.
Yeah. Mm.
Mhm. Okay, so now the big elephant in the room, the thing that takes a lot of athletes out is injuries,
Mm.
especially, on the elite track. It's got a bad reputation for just tearing bodies apart. So
Yeah.
how do you prevent and bounce back from injuries in a way that's going to allow longevity?
I think my answers will be really much similar as your question to the stress, because I think injuries and stress are really related. And, when you're not recovered and something is off in the balance, of course, you get injured easier. And also, when you're not balanced and if you're not present, then it's harder to communicate your needs to yourself first, but also to your coach. And then third is also just the quality of your relationship with a coach. If they believe when you say you have pain, if they validate it, and if they are creative enough to find alternative solutions for training. There is of course a lot we can do, being smart about how we set up the training and what kind of soft mats we use and how many reps we do, and when we do it, if we do something when we're tired, which kind of things can we do when we're tired. And big thing is also I have never gotten why gymnasts don't fuel so much in the training, because if the trainings last 3 to 4 hours, there should be some kind of energy you get. Either you drink something or eat something. So you're the what is it called? Yeah, level, just the physical level of presentation doesn't come so much down, and also your brain has more capacity to process everything and be more careful. Yeah, and then I think the perception of if we have to rush all the time or if we have time, it also makes a big difference. Because if you have to be, again, it comes to competition and now you have to be on top and you have to be on top, then of course your body doesn't have enough time to recover and you get some kind of injuries. And this is what we also see before the Olympic qualifications. I've heard so many potential athletes who wanted to compete, qualify for Olympics, just get injured before the Worlds, because they are pressing themselves maybe they are experiencing going through something, but they don't have the option to take a rest. They don't have the because they have this one qualifying chance. So of course they will press themselves because that's, you know, their biggest dream. So they will do everything for it. And that's where it goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, for the athlete out there who is, I think every athlete who's over the age of 12 probably feels like they have a ticking clock, at least in gymnastics. For that athlete who goes, well, I want to get into college and I have to get to level 10 by age 14 or I won't be recruited. And, what do you say to that athlete that will actually, that will set them up for their version of success?
I'll say to them, always prioritize your health and well-being, because the success comes as a byproduct of your health and well-being, because you already have the motivation, you already put in the work. Like now in this point, I count on that you know how to work as a professional athlete at the gym. Like it's built in you because you already did many years. And in this point, what you need is to respect what your body and mind is telling you and learn to know yourself. And it's also a really long process to learn to know yourself. And this age, you are changing all the time. So it's a ongoing work. Like you can't just be like, no, I studied a little bit and now I'm done. But it's like you have to just be mindful about this thing through your whole career. And it's like learning it in process. Yeah. Respecting your body, putting your health first, finding that self-compassion. But you only find the self-compassion by understanding that you're enough as a human being without all the success. Because if your worth depends on the medals you get, then you will not be happy. You don't feel like you achieved enough. And yeah, you always need that validation from that side, and eventually in your life you gotta learn that. So better learn it sooner than later.
Yes, gosh, that's so important. It's so important that if you can love and accept yourself no matter what,
Mm,
everything else is bonus. Medals are bonus. That
mm,
college scholarship is bonus. That
mm,
ability to compete at a high level, it's all bonus. That you are already whole, you're already complete, you're already worthy, you're already healthy and happy. I mean, what else could anyone really want out of life?
mm.
And if you're wanting something outside of you to be the source of that, you're going to be disappointed 100%.
Yeah, and this is what brings us back to the things we can control. Like what can we do to feel the meaning every day? When I go to the gym, like what kind of attitude I want to bring, how I'm going to treat my teammates, and what kind of developmental steps I want to take. And also the success is not tied on which score I get or which color of medal I get or if I get a medal, but it's tied to something you can control. And sometimes, the goal setting for me looks like, for some competitions, for example, in the beginning of the season, the goal can be just some kind of mindset thing. Like, okay, in this competition, I'm practicing bouncing back fast after if I do all four. Now I'm not doing all four anymore. I'm just doing bars. But it's not too long ago I did all four, and then you have to really focus fast. So those kind of tactical things also. How do I get the best out of each apparatus? They're so important, and it gives really different outcome than if I just go to the competition like I have to beat this girl. Like if I beat them, then everything is good. Like that approach will really not take you far because there can happen so many things. What if the other girl is doing really bad? Are you also then doing worse? Like then you don't have to do so good either. Or if they're doing really good and you're also doing really good, then you're still disappointed if they got a little bit better score. Like doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So many amazing nuggets of wisdom from your career. So what's next for you? I know you're still training. What is driving you currently in your sport?
Yeah, so I have actually my eyes on next year now. This year I took a little bit to calm down actually because I finished my studies 2 years ago and I had to get to the working life and kind of like live an adult life. So I try to find like what is the actual career path for me, and it's also taking some energy, so I have to respect that. So I decided it's a good idea to just compete here in Denmark this year. So I only have had one competition now in spring and then one in the fall, so the Danish Championships. And yeah, so this year I see as a kind of building up year, and also I've started coaching, so I also want to develop as a coach at the same time. Hopefully, doing some bigger competitions next year again.
I love that. Always leaving the door open because
Mm-hmm.
if you want to, you can. That's so beautiful. So
Yes.
if people want to get in touch with you or ask you questions, where's a great place for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so through my Instagram, just DM. My Instagram is just my name, Rosanna Ojala. So yeah, that way is a really easy way to get in contact with me, and I'm really happy to work with any athletes who have goals for themselves and help them to achieve their goals and also set the meaningful goals for them.
Wonderful. Well, Rosanna, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. I know everybody's going to want to rewind and listen again and just remember how to be present and that this is it's it's just a beautiful sport we get to do. It doesn't have to be the
Mhm.
source of stress and pain. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure really talking with you.